Peace, Rolling Out family. Today I'm excited to speak with a powerhouse in the business world, Simms. One of the most dynamic leaders in the industry over the last 25 years, Simms established a reputation for driving innovation and diversity while developing some of the largest marquees globally, including building a billion-dollar valued spirits brand. Simms spent many years working alongside Sean Diddy Combs at Combs Enterprises, where she began as an executive assistant and left the empire as president. That's so awesome. Simms has been named to Billboard's annual Most Powerful Women in Music 2018 list, the Ebony Power 100 list, Ad Age 2018 Women to Watch, and Variety's 2018 Power of Women New York Impact list. She has also received a 2018 Matrix Award from New York Women in Communications. I could say more, but right here we have Simms. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Man, this is such a pleasure for me. Again, you know, as I mentioned before, I speak to so many people, and there are people I come across that blow me away, and you are definitely one of those individuals. So thank you for this. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, so I'll just jump right into the question.
Yeah, please. Let's jump in.
So, you know, again, like I said, you blew me away. So can you take a moment and just tell us about the journey that led you to where you are right now?
Yeah, you know, it's not like a linear. It's not like I went to school and decided, oh, I'm going to work in the spirits industry. I like, you know, I studied psychology. I did a ton of things. I worked for the Department of Defense, negotiating defense contracts. I was a party promoter in DC for years, which is when I really started to learn about the spirits industry. I was over 20 years ago. I've done radio sales, advertising sales. I did a lot of different things. And I think, you know, my biggest learning was definitely working at Combs Enterprises in the bad boy school, and it can't stop, won't stop. We make it happen by any means necessary. Education. So I was in New York. I'm from New York originally. Working at a radio station called Power 105. And at the time, Puff was so loyal to Hot 97, he was reticent to advertise with that station. And I was in sales. So I originally got all the record labels as my clients, and I broke Bad Boy Records for the first time on that station. And then I started working with his team more and more and got Sean John to advertise on the station. And at some point when he was looking to hire a chief of staff, one of his executives called me and basically was just like, you and him both send emails at 3 a.m. I think y'all will get along. You know what I mean? Do you want to interview for this job? Sure. Yeah, I'll take all the interviews. I interviewed. They said, look, you have not ever really managed large teams. So he wants to hire you, but instead of chief of staff, would you be willing to come on as his executive assistant? I was 29. I had never been an assistant before. I never even had an unpaid internship up to that point. But I was like, you know what? This is somebody who I think I could learn so much from. And I am a perpetual geek and a student of life. And I thought this was going to be an opportunity to learn. If it wasn't, I would just go into the next thing. But started with him a week after I turned 30. And started as an executive assistant, and just tried to learn as much as I could. Everything from when launching fragrances to, at one point we had 5 television shows on at once, to the label, to managing 21 licensees under the Sean John umbrella, to being a part from the birth, which was really my baby before I had a baby, which was Ciroc Vodka. And again, it was one of the situations where I was his chief of staff at the time. I had finally got that job, and he was interested, considering going into the spirits industry, which he took real seriously, because for a long time he was reticent to do it. He said, I want to make sure I'm responsible to the community, la la la. And I said, look, I want to be involved in it. I said, you may not realize this, but I've trained in negotiations from the Department of Defense. Before I was here, I was selling millions of dollars. I want to be a part of that team. So he said, okay, sure, come on. So I was able to be a part of that team. We negotiated for 9 months, got the deal done. And then once the deal was done, I went back and said, all right, now, we used to have a big marketing. Bad Boy was famous for its marketing, but it was really nobody works in marketing anymore like it used to be. Let me restart the agency you used to have, Blue Flame. I said, I'll get it funded. I said, but let me leave my role as chief of staff. I want to go run the agency. I want to run this brand. I want to help build this brand. And he said, if you replace yourself, you can do that. So I went and got the funding, really did both jobs for 10 months. And then finally was like, Pop, we can make hundreds of millions of dollars on this. Like, I could do both, or I could do the hell out of this one thing. He said, go ahead, run the Ciroc brand. We built it from a business that had been fledgling, viewed as as failing for 5 years, to take it from like a 70,000 case business to, at its height, we were selling 2 million cases a year. And it was worth over $1 billion, still likely is today independently. And then I had a great run. I was pleased and I remain grateful and blessed that Puff gave me the opportunity to grow, to learn from him, and then eventually become the first president of Combs Enterprises at all. Puff is extremely hardworking. He's extremely in the midst of every detail. Mm-hmm. So it's not a small thing for him to entrust his empire with me, and I never took that for granted. And I count him as a brother to this day. And then at some point I was like, I want to do my own thing, right? At some point, you know what I mean? You want to run, you want to have your own full ownership. And I left and I started working on the cannabis company. I ended up spinning a piece of that off. And then now I'm at just thrilled that we just recently launched this tequila called Lobos 1707. We launched in November. We pretty much a soft launch. We've sold out almost everywhere, which has been incredible. Working together with just an amazing team with Lebron James is a part of it. Our founder, Diego Osorio, is just incredible. It's an amazing liquid, 400 years of heritage. Just a group of people who really like give a shit about each other, which for me, I don't have any problem working hard. If I look to my left and my right, I want to be working with people that I respect, who respect me, who I enjoy working with, because this life's too short to do anything else.
So that's so amazing. I really hope people are watching this.
me too.
Because I just have to go back to this, because the Department of Defense party promoter,
yeah,
to the CEO of $1 billion company.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to come back to Lobos 1707 like right away. I need to know what you brought with you from the Department of Defense to now. Like what is something that's been the same thread that's carried you throughout your career, that's kept you in this space?
Well, I think two of the most important things. One is being trained in negotiating. So I was part of this like particular program at the Department of Defense at that time, where they recruited seniors that had like a certain GPA, and they trained you for years. It was called like the Defense Acquisition University. So I literally had classes after classes on the art of negotiation. What kind of tools do you have in your toolbox? How do you modify your negotiation to what end goal? How to be persuasive, how to accomplish things, and then how to account for it financially to ensure you're getting the best outcome. Mm-hmm. That to me is actually a problem. When you think of all the gaps in education, like you need to learn like how to effectively negotiate, like in third grade. Not I mean, like it shouldn't be some spell. I see people that just down to employees, looking for even to have actually great cases, but don't understand how to negotiate in a way that you bring the other person along, that you forward the agenda, that you are passionate and clear about what you want, but you have a dispassionate baseline that's like irrefutable, like in terms of like, this is why it makes sense. These are the facts. And you could fight for it passionately, but just have a logical base upon which to build your argument. It's a missing skill. And it's been a, I think that training has helped me in everything from, negotiating with my husband about which movie to watch, and to, building global brands. And the second thing was, and this hasn't changed that much. I worked at the Department of Defense. I started working there and I was 21. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of crazy in retrospect. I was handling $100 million contract with a big defense contractor. In every room, they were super confused about why I was there. So defense industry is male dominated. It's almost all white. They were very much like, why is this young whippersnapper even in the room if she's not getting me coffee? So I was very early on trained in the like how I needed to establish my value within the first 5 seconds of walking into a room. I had the federal acquisition regulations, which are quite boring and nobody probably wants to hear about it, but they are like, 15 Bibles. And I was like, I'm gonna know this stuff so well. So at the bare minimum, I can't change necessarily. I can't be the one woman army to change people's or any racism they may have, but I will do everything in my power to ensure that they will take me seriously. And the next, hopefully 25 Black women or Black people or people of color or any underserved community that come before me, at least I hope I move their perception a step forward in that fight. And that I take with me to this day. It was the perfect foundation. And unfortunately, and I say this a lot, I have, as I said earlier, I've worked in a lot of industries, in fragrance and fashion, TV and movies, spirits. and advertising. And when you get to C-suite meetings, they're all male dominated. There's not enough minorities in any room. So there's been minimal change in the results, but it's been an incredible movement in our expectations. And that's the part that gives me so much hope.
And that's beautiful. And I'm glad that you've been able to stand firm in that space and continue to flourish. Now, back to Lobos 1707. What is unique about this spirit that made you get involved?
So first and foremost, when I had the I've advised and am an investor in different spirits brands. So I see a lot of great ideas, right? My partner, a woman I work with a lot, and who's the CMO now at Lobos, she always says, I don't need more ideas, I need more I-doers, right? So part of it to me is just like, who am I going to be working with? Like I had the first meeting with the founder and one of the key investors in Lobos 1707. They seemed incredible. We had a great mutual friend in common. But there were two things that mattered to me. And the first was, I think I have a good formula in knowing how to drive people to a brand once. Mm-hmm. But nobody's going to come twice if the product is bullshit. So I was like, please let me taste the liquid. I want to hear the real story. And I was blown away by the liquid. And I was blown away by the fact that the founder's family from Spain has been in the industry for 400 years. And unlike other tequilas, it gets aged in these beautiful barrels and has a beautiful PX finish at the end. And that part is incredible. And it's not common. It's different in the industry. And I love that. But everything down to the fact that when I first held the bottle in my hand, it fits beautifully, like ergonomically in your hand. Like you can feel yourself like, oh, I come to the barbecue with this. I walk to my friend's house with this. It actually makes sense. And when I think about, having worked as a promoter, that like when you're in a nightclub all night pouring, like I know I've seen cocktail waitresses at the end of the night, like with ice on their hands. And I was like, this bottle actually took into account everybody from the Jimador and agave field in Mexico to the cocktail waitress across the board. And that was what intrigued me. And the more time I spent with the founder and we thought about launching, he was so committed to, before we even talk about sales targets, what the channel, all that kind of stuff, what are we building? What's our office going to be like? What kind of human beings are we going to hire? That's the way we have, that to me is a dream in the way you build an organization. Even our office space, we're blessed to be financially sound, to be well capitalized. So we could have got an office anywhere in New York. But we were like, we want to get an office at the center of culture. Like we purposely went to the Lower East Side. We built out a space beyond being a founder of this. He's actually also like a carpenter. Mm-hmm. So he's like literally like building the office. We built a stage. We can't do much because of the pandemic, but our vision is that we'd have a space. We already reached out to the community board, like have your community meetings here. Oh, and it's a beautiful space. Like you can shoot in there. Like you're a young artist and you can't afford a studio, shoot in our space. Oh, you're a musician, but you can't come stream in our space. You built a stage, come here, stream out. Like we want to be a legitimate resource. The name Lobos means wolves. Mm-hmm. And the more you know about the wolf pack and how they take care of each other and how they're often led by the alpha female and the strongest is in the back. And if a wolf gets hurt, they all stop and take care of each other. And they really live understanding that the strength of each other lies in one another and that one can't be strong without the group. This entire brand proposition has been built in that. No matter how incredible the liquid is, the pack is, the money is, that's the most important thing.
I can tell that you're truly passionate about this product.
I am.
And I can definitely tell that anything that you're involved with, you're working with that from the top to the bottom.
Yes.
Where does this passion come from? Where does this determination come from?
Like all of us, I think it's just kind of the way I grew up. My dad, very smart guy, but and he has an amazing family who loves him, but he grew up where like he would have aunts and cousins literally saying to him, like, you're so smart and handsome. Like, if you really try, you could grow up and become a pimp, right? Like, that's the kind of objective. That was like, if you really, really work hard at it, like you could. And he came out of that. He grew up in an area where like the cops were your enemies, right? They're sprinkling, we all know, right? And he met my mother. He was in the military, and then ended up coming back to New York and decided, against everything that was in him, he was like, well, I'm going to join the New York police force. And that was like, it was almost like hard for him. He's like, that's kind of, I grew up knowing you can't trust the police. Mm-hmm. But one thing he felt strongly about is you can't change. It's very difficult to change something from the outside. So he was like, I'm going to go inside. And he went inside and he became successful and he promoted. And then this was, 30 something years ago. Now he's one of the first officers to go into internal affairs and build a team to train officers on how to have civil discourse in Black and brown neighborhoods in New York City. Obviously, there's much work to be done. But as a child, it exemplified to me that if you see an issue, you got to get in the middle of it to make a change. If you don't like the way you're treated at an organization, maybe you have to start your own thing. And that has always stuck with me.
You mentioned it being in these spaces at 21 years of age, where basically you're sticking out as a sore thumb.
Oh, yeah.
And I know many challenges were presented in those spaces. Can you talk about a few of those and how you were able to overcome those?
Yeah, this is to be honest, it's not some day gone by. It's not like, ooh, back in the 50s. This is recent. I mean, even, again, I just shout out again to Puff. There were many times when we would be meeting with billionaire heads of distributors, and no matter what, he would say, like, this is the president of my company. She's going to question. They would literally be like, oh, yeah, that's so sweet. Is this your lady friend? And he would do a good job of standing up, being an ally and being like, she knows more about this than I do. If you want to answer your question, you need to listen. So, it's important to have allies. It's wonderful to work with people who have the same approach. And for me, I just, I had this thing I call the clipboard effect. And it goes back to the days when I used to promote in DC, famous, probably one of the best party throwers ever, a gentleman named Mark Barnes out in DC. And, back then, if you were a young woman promoting in a club, you had to actively, like the best football player ever, try to dodge not getting your smacked on the behind or somebody, hitting on you all night. And because you're there for work, that's not what you're there for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found, just fell into it, that when I had a clipboard in my hand, a lot of that went away. I was treated differently, a different level of respect. It wasn't just like, oh, shorty, da-da-da. It was very much like, oh, well, excuse us, what should I do to get a drink? And what night is ladies' night? It was very different. So I literally used to every week I would give all the women on the team, the promoters, the women, clipboards. And it in my mind, I manifested it as like this clipboard effect. Although nobody should have to have a prop to be taken seriously, I have tried to emulate the gravitas of what it means. Like, what's my clipboard effect when I walk in a room? What chair do I choose? How does my point reverberate? How do I ensure I'm succinctly getting to the point? How do I also make sure that when I'm in an organization, I'm driving revenue? I am very intentional about getting to the money. You know what I'm saying? I'm very intentional about, because to be honest, right. People, it's the only thing that comes closer. It's not going to beat racism, but it competes a little bit when you're like, you stick with me, you're going to have a nice ROI. I'm good for business, right? And that has been the guiding light, I think, that has helped propel me, in spite of all the challenges that exist to this day.
Getting to the money, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So now, okay, so how was the soft launch? You mentioned the soft launch in November for
Yes.
Lobos.
Yes. That was amazing. Our whole rollout campaign was called Build a Bigger Table. And again, literally to the point of our founder, like Jesus, he's like a carpenter. So he's in our office, building a long table in real life. And we made sure, and LeBron was really pointed about this. He's like, I do not want this. This is not about me, right?
I don't want that to fly by. When you say LeBron, who are you talking about?
So I'm sorry, LeBron James, okay. As one of our key backers, super involved, wanted to make sure that the campaign celebrated the group. And that the way we rolled out showed everybody who was involved, everybody's contributions. I think that really resonated when we were going out to our accounts, to restaurants, to liquor stores, to distributors, and to consumers. We started in New York and Florida and California. Mm-hmm. Then we were in about another 36 states through reservebar.com. 36 states sold out within the first 3 weeks. California is almost sold out. We just literally have a couple cases left down in San Diego, and we're close on New York, and then we'll have our big national launch in the next 6 weeks. But it's been an incredible response, and we're grateful to be able to activate the audience. But I think that, like I said before, the most powerful thing is that people try it and they fall in love with it, like I did.
Ideally, of course, you want them to fall in love with it. How would you want the consumer to experience it?
Yeah, so we came up with 4 marks, and I'm going to grab a bottle in a second. But our premier mark is the Extra Añejo. That's the most aged, smooth. All you need at most, a couple of ice cubes. Mm-hmm. You just drink and eat. for our reposado is incredible. Like if you're out having fun or you're with the group, I think it's like perfect for communion. If you want to elevate your shot experience, I think our reposado is perfect for that. And then our Joven is, if you normally drink like a clear tequila, our Joven is like a silver on steroids. It's still aged, so it has the warmth and character of an age and maybe a little bit of feeling of that brown liquid, but it's still light enough to make a beautiful Paloma, wonderful for summer. And then the really fun one that I love is our Mezcal. It comes in the black bottle. I'm going to grab it if you don't mind 1 second. I'm going to show it to you.
I don't mind.
The bottle's so beautiful. And
let's look at it. Hold on, let me see. Now move it over the other way. Yeah. Ooh, and there's a wolf on the front of it.
Yeah, it's sexy, right? I love this bottle. And it has a wonderful like smoky underpin. And as mezcal, which is different than tequila, although they're both agave spirits, explodes even faster than tequila has been, we think we have just a perfect entrant to spice up your normal routine, jump onto the way America's palate is developing. And it's terrific. It's terrific. You just have to try. So I want to make sure I want to get you some because I want to get your opinion on it. But
perfect.
We have something for everybody. It's terrific.
Now, so then, okay, the tequila's going to be awesome. Clearly it's successful and everything. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll be with the company for some time. Mm-hmm. However, what is next for you?
Well, my main priority, and I think this is a part of it, is building as much ownership as I can in underrepresented communities. So here's a quick stat. On average, this is specific to Black Americans, this is a stat I know, but on average, a white American is worth 13 times what a Black American is worth on average. Wow. But when you pull out business owners, it drops to a 3x multiplier. So if you're in a business of trying to compress 400 years and like how are we going to catch up in the next 20 years, ownership is critical. So when I look at an industry like the spirits industry, which is just the industry that I know a lot about, a very wealthy industry where we're very underrepresented, as my passion and this Build a Bigger Table initiative is a part of that, with what Maverick and what Diego and what Lebron James want to do, is that it's not just for us. Like, who are we building it next? How do we get more owners in? And I'm having these conversations with other suppliers, with VCs, with distributors, saying like, before we do business with you, please tell me, like, what are your other minority-owned brands? What's your women-owned brand program? That to me is what I will never stop doing.
This is so amazing, and whatever help you need from me, I'm there for it.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to take you up on that.
100%, because just hearing your story and the value that you've been able to add to the business community and then even larger to our community as a whole is amazing. And we really appreciate you. Oh, I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Definitely. So now, people want Lobos tequila and mezcal. Where they going to get it?
Yes, go to siptequila.com, and you can have it delivered to your door.
And how can they get in contact with you?
I'm at Dia Simms, just my name, at DIASIMMS on Instagram, and it's probably the fastest way.
Okay, so I don't know if I missed anything. Is there anything that you want to add or to this conversation? Or
no, I'm incredibly grateful to you for your time. I think just everything rolling out does, and I remember how many years it's been when rolling out first started, and just it's important to have a forum like this where we can impart our message to our community and how important the culture is and the economic strength that our culture brings. And I can't say it enough to make sure that we walk in the audacity of the $1 trillion buying power that we have. And go out. And if you don't like your job, let's figure out how we get you, start your own business.
There it is. Rolling Out family. This is Miss Dia Simms, the dynamic Dia Simms. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For sure. And as I always say, stay focused, positive, and productive. Peace, everybody.